Good evening, everyone. This is Dankest Dad here, coming back for another video with Randy. Randy, say hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Of course, and since Randy is here, you already know this is going to be about Wild Hearts, and I wanted to talk about a bit of a Wild Hearts what if today. So, if you've been sticking with the community since the very beginning, with all of the Discord tournaments, the early Tabletopia modding cards, you'll have seen that some of the cards have changed a bit since we've started playing Wild Hearts. And I thought it would be good to talk about that a bit, see what changes we have. And of course, we're going to kick it off with the Foxtail Necklace. So here, you all are going to be seeing the current version of the card. And it says zero cost, special card, item spirit with speed, and you gain this as an exhausted resource. So, with the current Foxtail Necklace, Randy, I've been liking the card. It ramps, still really good to have in your opening hand, but what kind of decks are we going to see people play this with once these cards come out after the Kickstarter?
Well, there's going to be obviously decks that want to build ramp. However, it does synergize extremely well with decks that work well with items. Like, say you wanted to do a Might special deck and you had the Shadoon. That's going to work really well with that. That's one of the cards we revealed
Yes, and
in an earlier set. Also, it's going to work really well with other cards that work good with spirits because it's an item and a spirit.
yes. And, we've seen the power of the Shadoon firsthand. I know that in the streamer battle royale, I had the good fortune of sticking two Shadoons on the board with the wealth of items that Tactics has in the bit early card pool we've seen now. But I'm sure that with a whole set of cards in constructed, there will be some more items and special that we might be able to put together.
For sure.
So, this is the Foxtail Necklace. You know it, you love it, but there was an old Foxtail Necklace that some people loved even more, and so much it's even tattooed on someone's body, for real. So, this previous Foxtail Necklace, it's not new, but it is shiny. It has speed, draw a card, and gain this as an exhausted resource. So, draw a card really puts a new spin on this one, huh?
Yeah, it gives the card no downside ever.
Well,
There's no ever, you know what I mean? Because, like, worst case scenario, you draw this round 4 with the draw card. It's replacing itself in your hand. Now, you could say that there's a downside because you just replaced a card and you only have 30 cards in your deck.
mm-hmm.
But
Right. And
ultimately, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say that generally that opportunity cost is, really tough to kind of materialize as a downside when you can look and say, I have more access to my 28 best cards that I can play in my deck. And that upside seems to outweigh it for me almost prohibitively in most cases. And having played with this one a lot, boy, was it strong. Just always coming down, crushing, getting you that immediate value and keeping up your hand so you can make big plays with all of those resources later.
Yeah. And, honestly, I don't think that the card was massively overpowered with the draw card on it. But it is kind of a design space where we wanted some of these zero cost cards to be choices. So, like, a really good example, this would be like Lucky Hat. You have the ability to put it down as a support resource, or you have the ability to play it from your hand. So you still have choices with what you're going to do with the card. Whereas with the old with the old Foxtail Necklace, it was just always like it's just always going to get resource pretty much, and it never really had a downside. And there was never really kind of any consideration of like, is this card good or not?
Right. And I know that we had talked about this personally in the past, but one thing that about this version that's so difficult for all of you on the design team is how do you make a card better than this? Like, what would it take? Like, in future sets, I just can't imagine what it would take to displace something that is this powerful from that zero slot in decks without having it be a very specific synergy piece or some pretty significant change in terms of what power is available at zero.
Yeah, I mean, some easy ways to make it more powerful would be to add, like as you're saying, like synergies, like we could add different keywords to it. We could remove speed, so these would be things like if didn't have speed, it would give you not only give you a resource, but then it would start letting you play behind your opponent. I mean, there's definitely ways. I'm not saying any of the ways that I just listed will happen, but these were considerations we made originally when we designed the value of the card.
Sure. And yeah, like I'm looking forward to playing with the new version too. And I'll be honest, I had some pretty mean things I was prepared to do with this and Hydrophon before you guys made the change, but I think that the new card actually does create some more interesting game states. And importantly, it still does what it's supposed to do. It still generates you ramp. It's still a zero cost item in spirit. It gets you that one more resource as well if you are playing Ferrotune or a card like that that cares about it. But it also just is not a non factor in terms of deck building consideration. It does take a little bit of that mental real estate, and maybe instead you want to play Moonlight Aura that still gets you that card draw, but also can mess up cards like Ballast Whistle or other cards that can search your deck or take cards off the top for certain effects. Shuffling in those special attacks isn't just strict upside. So, bit interesting there. And, I think that both the special zero cost cards are pretty well positioned from what we've seen so far.
Thanks. Yeah, the zero cost cards were always kind of be designed as this, like, how to put it, like they're not something necessarily that we want players to feel like you have to have them in your deck to be competitive. They're supposed to be good cards, but they're weighted just like kind of all the other cards, where every card should be a choice and not a guaranteed pick.
Right. And, as a person who loves coming up with different deck builds and really experimenting with all the tools, I think that makes it really rewarding to be able to find a spot where every card makes sense and also find spots where a certain card doesn't make sense because other pieces just fit together nicely in a way that a generically good card just can't sometimes.
Yeah, I think building synergies into your decks as more cards come online and we see them after set one rolls out is going to be really fun for people, because a lot of, like, Foxtail Necklace works really good with item and spirit decks for ramp, but there might be ally cards that have ramp in there too, so maybe you're going to build around that instead, or you're gonna have to find these synergies in different ways.
Right, and you also can make up for the draw that is lost by playing cards like Ferrotune, playing cards like Lucky Hat in your support that can give you that card advantage, take advantage of the ramp without just having it built into the card. It's still just so explosive though, and I'm just gonna say personally, I will have 2 in my opening hand every time I play special. Just get used to it. That's what you're gonna see up against me.
Yeah, Bankus Dad is going to have to show us his card shuffling tricks at some point.
I play digital card games, Randy. I don't know how to shuffle. But anyway, I think that's all we're going to say about Foxtail Necklace. But thank you guys for joining and watching. And we'll be back soon to talk about another one. Just a reminder, we have the Kickstarter coming up on January 7th for the game. So make sure to follow that if this interests you. Check out the Wildhearts official Discord, and also check out our other community creators like Dragon Rider, Jade Johnny, and Battle Ready Inc. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.